Donald Trump can no longer hide, distract, or cover up his Jeffrey Epstein scandal, and for that very reason, the White House is panicked right now because although he tried to stop them, Jeffrey Epstein survivors are speaking out today at a press conference that has blown up this entire scandal. We're going to get into it all, but before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video, and if you haven't already and you enjoy our channel, to hit that subscribe button because it goes a long way in supporting our work. Now, not only did the Epstein survivors tell their story today, but they dropped a bombshell about the hidden Epstein client list that has the White House completely freaking out. We are going to get into it, but I want to quickly start with what Lawrence O'Donnell had to say last night with newly revealed information about a different Epstein client, a different Epstein confidant, Ghislaine Maxwell, and how that is rocking this story.
The worst thing about it is the laughter. That's the part that the news reports haven't told you about. There was a lot of laughter. They all laughed. And no one laughed more than Ghislaine Maxwell. In 9 hours of what turned out to be casual conversation spread over a Thursday and a Friday in Florida, the single sickest reaction you could have in that discussion of Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell's sex crimes was laughter. And they all did it. Ghislaine Maxwell laughed the most, joined by her 3 criminal defense lawyers. And their laughter was joined by the 4 people from the Trump Justice Department sitting in that room with a convicted sex trafficker, an indicted perjurer, and they laughed the day away with her 2 days in a row. But that's not in the transcript released by the Trump Justice Department on a Friday afternoon, because it is not a real transcript of what actually happened in that room. No court reporter, no stenographer was allowed in that room. And so this transcript that we have, it's not real.
Donald Trump does not take this seriously. It is important to make that abundantly clear that no one in this administration actually cares, that Republicans, most of them, do not actually care, that this was a political pawn, it is a political pawn, and now that it is not politically helpful for them, they want to move on as quickly as possible, and they think it's a joke. They've made a mockery out of it, which is why it is so important that these survivors have their stories heard and why they are dropping a bombshell on what Donald Trump doesn't want out there, the Epstein list.
We have some breaking news right now. One of the Epstein survivors speaking at the largest ever rally of Epstein survivors right behind me just announced that the survivors are going to be confidentially compiling a list of names. Since the Trump administration won't release the Epstein client list, they're going to compile a confidential list of names by survivors for survivors, outlining every individual responsible and involved in Epstein and Maxwell's horrific crimes over the many years. They are fighting back. They are making their voices heard. Right now, today, the survivors need to be heard. There are over a dozen survivors here today. Shortly, we're going to have a press conference with Republicans and Democrats from the House of Representatives. I'm going to be asking them questions about what they see happening next. There is a major push to release the files on Capitol Hill, and right now, these survivors are not backing down. Keep spreading their voice, keep sharing.
There is nothing that Donald Trump, Mike Johnson, James Comer can do to prevent these survivors from putting together their own list with Donald Trump's name on it of those closest to Epstein. There is nothing that a pardon for Ghislaine Maxwell and her lying under oath about Trump can do to stop that from happening or to stop them from continuing to tell their stories, which is exactly what we saw today. And I want to check out a couple of them. They were incredibly impactful and very important to watch.
Worst part is that the government is still in possession right now of the documents and information about that could help me remember and get over all of this maybe and help me heal. They have documents with my name on them that were confiscated from Jeffrey Epstein's house and could help me put the pieces of my own life back together. But I don't have any of it. And I know the same is true for many of these women. We are here to support this bill today, not only for transparency, but for the American people. But if the government is going to release these documents to the public, describing the crimes committed by Jeffrey Epstein and others, the least that they can do is give me my documents that they have about me. The other survivors deserve the same respect from our government. While our identifying information must be redacted to the public, it is equally important to provide the victims themselves with unredacted information. I will never forget when the FBI agent showed up in my door in 2008. Jeffrey Epstein hired a lawyer to represent me, or more like to represent him, I like to say. I couldn't ask any questions, and I had no idea what was going on. I was terrified. Until today, I think most of us are still terrified. I thought somebody was going to kill me. I thought something was going to happen to my sister or my mother. It went further out to even maybe thinking something would happen in Brazil with my family. And then one day, the lawyer said that everything was just gonna go away. Like nothing happened. I didn't need to testify. When I asked him why, he gave no explanation. That was it. So why? Why was I never called to testify then? We could have saved so many women. We could have saved so many lives from being abused. Why did he get away with it in 2008? Why was he able to go on in the abuse with hundreds of girls after the Florida investigation? Why didn't they let me testify to help stop him? Our government could have saved so many women, but Jeffrey Epstein was too important and those women didn't matter. Why? Well, we matter now. We are here today and we are speaking and we are not going to stop speaking.
You have a choice. Stand with the truth or with the lies that have protected predators for decades. I am no longer weak. I am no longer powerless. And I'm no longer alone. And with your vote, neither will the next generation be. President Trump, you have so much influence and power in this situation. Please use that influence and power to help us, because we need it now and this country needs it now. Thank you.
Oh, I'll answer that. Mr. President Donald J. Trump, I am a registered Republican, not that that matters because this is not political. However, I cordially invite you to the Capitol to meet me in person so you can understand this is not a hoax. We are real human beings. This is real trauma.
What does it feel like emotionally to hear that?
Devastating.
It's being gutted from the inside out. Not that I would know what that feels like, but I imagine it's the anxiety buildup with the depression and the survival mode, and then your nervous system goes limp and ironically is shot. And it feels like you just want to explode inside because nobody, again, is understanding that this is a real situation. These women are real. We're here in person. To say that it's a hoax is just not... Please humanize us. I would like Donald J. Trump and every person in America and around the world to humanize us, to see us for who we are and to hear us for what we have to say. There is no hoax. The abuse was real. Now, what goes on behind closed doors, I can't speak for that. What happens around the world politically, I cannot speak for that. But I am here with all of these women, including our attorneys, and I would be more than happy to meet with him, and I will meet him halfway.
You are a person who has chosen to serve in an elected position to stand up for those you represent who cannot always stand up for themselves. We are those people. We are the Americans that you promised to protect, and we need your help. Please, President Trump, pass this bill and help us. Make us feel like our voices are finally being heard. Thank you.
The Washington establishment is asking the American public to believe something that is not believable. They're asking you to believe that two individuals created hundreds of victims and they acted alone, and that the DOJ has no idea of who else might have been involved. that nobody else did anything that rose to a criminal enterprise. The American people know that's not true. Now, the Speaker of the House just offered a fig leaf to my colleagues. They're going to vote on a non-binding resolution today that does absolutely nothing. I appreciate the efforts of my colleague James Comer, who's leading the Oversight Committee. They may find some information, but they're allowing the DOJ to curate all of the information that the DOJ is giving them. If you've looked at the pages they've released so far, they're heavily redacted. Some pages are entirely redacted. And 97% of this is already in the public domain. So I'm calling on my colleagues, be one of the next two who sponsors this discharge petition. I think it's shameful that this has been called a hoax. Hopefully today we can clear that up. This is not a hoax. This is real. There are real survivors. There are real victims to this criminal enterprise. And the perpetrators are being protected because they're rich and powerful and political donors to the establishment here in Washington, D.C. So today we're standing with these survivors and we're giving them a voice, and I want to close by thanking them. They are brave. I hope they encourage other survivors to come forward.
Donald Trump does not take this seriously. Donald Trump does not care about this. Republicans don't. These are the thoughts and prayers that move on people. They don't want to address the systemic abuse that led to this point. They want to scream and shout and whine about a two-tiered system of justice when their dear leader is held accountable for his crimes, but they don't want to talk about how the wealthy, well-off, and well-connected can always get out of trouble. Don't have to worry, because Donald Trump and MAGA are always willing to bail out the billionaire class. That happened with Epstein, that happened with Maxwell, it's happening with Trump once again. Those are the people that they are protecting. And it is incumbent upon us to continue to talk about this cover-up, to continue to talk about Trump's crimes, and I promise you we're going to be doing so on this show every single day. Major props to Thomas Massie and to Ro Khanna for making this happen. And the bravery of those victims is incredible. Their stories need to be heard. They deserve justice. They deserve for these files to be released. That's why we're going to keep speaking on it. And if you want to support that, as always, you can hit that subscribe button, leave a like on this video, and if you stuck around to the end, drop a blue heart in the comments. And until next time, I'll see you soon.